Perisic, Mandzukic i Mandzukic i Super Mario je zabija i doveo strana! Na vrata Raja Super Mario nas dovodi!
That was the beautiful commentary of Drago Kosic. We also move on to the story of 67 million versus 4 million in the final. That is the population of France against Croatia. France will take on the smallest nation since Uruguay in 1950 to participate in a World Cup final. Croatia's golden generation have every right to be excited. However, history does not favor them. In their 5 meetings between the two sides, France have won 3 games and drawn twice. One of those victories was most notably in the semifinal in 1998, in which France went on to win the World Cup. Is this Croatia's time, or does France get the best of Modric, Rakitic, and company? You're listening to 12 Yards Out. I'm Robert Belardi with Devon Imrie and Nelson Santo. I want to start off by actually making an apology. I made a mistake in the last episode. Simi Versalco did end up playing. I can't remember the source that I ended up reading it on. But if that's the one thing we all know
Fake news,
in soccer,
man.
guys, is reports, whether it be injuries or transfer rumors, are so vague at times where it's never clear what is actually happening in the soccer world. We just hear a rumor, and then if it comes into reality, great. And if not, then we're really not surprised.
You look like a genius if it comes true,
Sources,
right?
those sources, buddy.
You look like a genius if it comes true, and then you look like Lukaku if it doesn't come true.
Oh, man's already going
here
off.
we go. We haven't even begun the episode yet, and you're already going to start this? At least wait till we get it good. We got our good introductory. Let's get a conversation
You know he's
going.
dying
Let's
to go
wait.
off.
He came into the room and he was already sweating. He was so getting so excited about this.
I was waiting for it all day, man. I'm excited. I'm so excited.
He's so ready to go off.
Cause I love, you know, when you just love being right sometimes about someone or about something, and it comes true.
It's so satisfying.
Surprisingly
Yeah,
for
it
you,
is.
you got it right.
Especially when everybody is against you. That's the best part. Everyone doesn't know what's going to go on, but they end up taking sides. Why do you think I had to go against you guys last week? I wanted to see if I was
I'm
right.
never doing pro line with you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
No, don't do pro line with me. I'm brutal at that.
I'm
Two for
never
two.
taking your advice.
2 for 2.
Well,
yeah.
why did you
exactly.
listen to my advice?
Never that.
You never had to listen to my advice.
I
never listened
didn't.
to you.
I didn't. I wish I did play pro line. My buddy won just over $200 on $3 for
Perfect.
betting for what was it, France and Croatia. So there you go.
It's a good,
Yeah.
safe bet, too.
Definitely down the line, guys, we can get into all the betting odds because, Bet365
Just became
is
legal,
huge.
right?
Pro
So-
line is
Yeah.
good. It's legal all across the states.
Did he make the bets after listening to us? For sure.
Had to have.
I want to say yes.
For
So
sure.
yes.
We'll go with a yes.
So listen
Plug
to us and you'll win money.
Is that our new motto?
Don't-
Should we write that on Instagram? Listen to us so we can get
Don't
some
put
money.
me in that. Don't
Come on,
put me
guys.
in
If you
that.
want to win some money, hey, follow 12 Yards Out on Instagram and we'll give you some picks
Just
for free for the 1st
don't
time.
add us if you don't win any money.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, if you don't want to win any money, don't follow us.
Gotta have a little fun. Let's get to it.
All right,
boys.
let's get to it. So, really interesting semifinal here, guys. Really good, 2 good quality games. I mean, end to end for most of it. I mean, the Croatia-England one was more end to end. Tactically, it was good for the France against Belgium game. I felt like we'll start it off with that one, and the Belgium-France game, there was so many missed chances by both teams. I mean, it could have been more open-ended, a lot more high scoring. Teams end up screwing up a lot of chances. Marouane Fellaini, Lukaku had one. He didn't end up pouncing on it, and here we go again. This guy.
He's
And
dying. Just let him have his
He's
2
dying. You know
minutes.
what? Let's get the video going because this is going to go on our Instagram account. I'm going to let you start off with this since I always give a little introduction to every single game. I'm going to let you start off with Lukaku. Please
Let's go,
shoot.
buddy. Have your 2 minutes.
It might be more than that. All right, Lukaku, come here. Get close to your phone,
Hold
your
on.
computer.
Before you go, for those who are listening, you're like very serious. You just sat
Oh,
up
100%.
straight. He sat up straight.
He straightened
Close
his
to
back
the
for the
mic.
first time in 5 weeks. I've never seen his
He
back
looks like a
straight.
new man. We've
fix
never
my
seen
collar.
Devin like this. So, okay. Have your 2 minutes there, buddy. Let's go.
So yeah, Lukaku, please stand up. This is your time for prosecution. come listen close to your phone, your computer, whatever you're listening on. Because you are who you are. And you prove that to me once again. You are a donkey. And you are not a top footballer. And you cannot win anything with yourself playing up top. No team can win with you. When he's not scoring goals, or when he is scoring goals, they're against weaker opponents, as we saw in this World Cup, and as we saw when he was with United, and the other jerseys he also has worn in the past 10 years. So, no team wants to hold on to him, and there's a reason why. So when he's not scoring goals against much weaker opponents, he's a waste of space. He is nowhere to be found in the build-up play. He's invisible outside the 18-yard box, and if he's not provided even decent service, he needs amazing service to even get a chance at goal. So when he's not provided that, he looks worse than some Sunday League strikers. I know my Sunday League striker scored 5 goals this past weekend, so maybe he can fit in for Belgium even better. We've seen this time and time again with him. He's so inconsistent in front of goal for every team he's been with. It's as if he needs a dozen chances to finish one. And that's if you're lucky, to be honest with you. That's if you're lucky. So I'm not sure how many chances clubs are going to give him before he gets the Mario Balotelli treatment and is just ostracized by big clubs across Europe. If he did have the same mentality and kind of playfulness that Mario Balotelli did when he was younger, I'm sure he'd be in the exact same situation as Balotelli is now, searching for teams across France. So the French had him in his back pocket, in their back pocket all night, and it was clear that he was never going to get a look at goal. I really don't know what Martinez was doing, leaving him on the pitch and taking off Fellaini in that situation and leaving Batshuayi to come on in the last 5 minutes. What is he going to do? So Batshuayi should have been called upon much earlier in this match, and the inability for Hazard or De Bruyne to be able to link up with him cost him this match. I literally never want to hear Lukaku's name come out of any of your mouth ever again. Who's ever going to, if a team is challenging for a title.
Lukaku.
He is the worst. He might be worse than Giroud at this point to me, because at least Giroud hustles. There's a reason why he's on that French starting 11.
Yeah, he has no goals and
there is no reason for Lukaku to be in the starting 11.
What a rant. You know what show you should apply for? Shameless. Do it. Call whoever it is that you need to call from Netflix and from, I think it's Showcase. I believe it is that.
He's garbage to me. I'm sorry. Like I said, if you're challenging for a title or for a World Cup, you can't have him in your starting 11. What does he do for you? How many chances was he given? Not in this previous match, but in the game against Brazil, in their round of 16 match, against Japan. And he just couldn't finish. He scored against Tunisia, and he scored against Panama. I'm sorry, but I think Robert Belardi can score against Panama. So there's no just reasoning for him to be called a striker that can lead the lines and lead a team to a championship. There's no proof of it. You can ask Man United fans. Look how frustrated they were with him all season. Look at Everton fans. He had one good season with Everton, and that's it. Chelsea, Mourinho didn't want nothing to do with him. Mourinho's been wrong about some players.
Stuck with him.
I'll give you that. But
De Bruyne,
Salah. So he's been wrong about players, but he's 100% right about Lukaku. He has no right to be. He should have stayed at Everton. That's where he belongs, at a mid-level English Premier League team, challenging for Europa League and maybe a slight chance at Champions League, but more so a Europa League striker for me.
I agree. The thing is, that whole Belgian team was struggling to make anything offensive. Even Hazard, he was having a great tournament, and he was struggling to just make an impact on anything.
Yeah, De Bruyne really got shut down for me, and it's all credit to N'Golo Kante for that, because Pogba had Fellaini in his pocket and didn't really give him a chance except for that one header that he missed. But so all credit to those French midfielders shutting down that space for De Bruyne. And it's too bad because we saw Hazard drift out to almost a left wing back position for most of the game, and with the absence of Carrasco and Meunier, how do you say his name? Sorry,
Meunier.
But yeah, there you go.
In my opinion, that killed Belgium.
Yeah,
is the loss
that was
of
a
Meunier,
huge loss
because Chadli, He's good for his country, but if you want to talk club football, he was terrible for West Bromwich Albion this season. 5 appearances all year. And that's a guy in your national team. A guy representing your country with 5 appearances in a league is not good. I mean, Chadley had a good spell when he was with Tottenham because he was regularly playing. He couldn't fit the role that was needed. I think they would have been better off of substituting Chadley for somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe Batshuayi. Throw Batshuayi out there. At least he's young. He can at least run forward. There were a lot of viable options that Martinez did have. I get what you're saying about Lukaku. I mean, don't get me wrong. You're passionate about it, and that's a good thing because Lukaku didn't show up against the big teams. You're absolutely right. I'm not going to discredit you for that. I'm not discrediting for that at all.
None of them.
The reason why you bring him in is because who else are you going to bring in? He's a physical presence in the box, and at least he provides a threat for you. You have to mark him anyway, and he's still quick for a physical guy. He's someone you do have to bring on a national team, considering that Michy Batshuayi is not up to a starting role striker yet. He had a good year with Dortmund. He was backup for Diego Costa at Chelsea for a little while, and he did decently well as a backup. But for a starting position, it is going to be Lukaku. All the ifs, ands, or buts are out of the way. I want to credit the French defense. I know you guys talk about the midfield. Mm-hmm. France's defense, we spoke about this. The defenses were shaky right at the beginning. Belgium against France, shaky. Samuel Umtiti goes and beats Marouane Fellaini on a header.
Yeah.
How are you going to let that happen, Marouane Fellaini? You cannot allow a guy who's 6 feet to beat you in the box on a header. You need to get there and challenge that.
Yeah.
Like this
he was really late on it too. Like you saw, it was really poor marking.
Very late, and that's Umtiti's 3rd goal in his 24th appearance for the country.
Yeah, a game full of all these amazing strikers, and a defender had to win the game. That's what I liked actually. And it's coming off a header, right? It's 8 out of the last 15.
8 of the last 15. Yep.
Are goals from headers.
Yep.
So as we can tell, the header set pieces are being, huge deal in this World Cup. And man, you got to credit France. They came with a plan and they completely just killed Belgium.
Yeah, I mean, all credit to France. Not too much criticism to Belgium. They didn't play all that bad. They weren't all that bad. For a semifinal game in a World Cup of a team that does not have experience in semifinals of going deep into tournaments, that was a good dark horse this year. They did not do all that bad. Dries Mertens, when he came on, for me, really changed the game. He was whipping balls into the box. He was creating chances. He was playing with a lot of heart, much like Eden Hazard did. Eden Hazard threw everything he had on the line on that game. He came to play. De Bruyne, you barely saw him. Lukaku, you didn't see him. Fellaini showed up every once in a while. And you know what? You could have also brought on Tielemans, who's a really good young midfielder, somebody to provide a good dynamic within the Belgium team. Pressure France. If I was the French, what I would have done, I would have substituted Olivier Giroud for Ousmane Dembele, thrown Dembele out wide, and Mbappe right up front. Because if you did that, Belgium were dominating possession. One mistake by Belgium, Mbappe's beating you.
Well, that's the thing. I was just going to speak to it. Belgium had 60% of the possession, and that's great if you're a possession kind of side, but Belgium's don't have the team built for that. They're a good pace. They're a good counter-attacking side, as we've seen against Japan, and they had double the amount of passes as France in that game. But it's usually the counter-attacking team in this tournament has usually won the game, and if Mbappe was on his game, he didn't have the best game for me. But if he was truly on, he could have had 2 at the end, at least 2. But you saw his pace still caused the Belgium defense worlds of trouble, and he was getting in really good positions, but he just couldn't find the final ball or couldn't finish at the right time.
Yeah, a little bit of antics during that game too.
He got called
Neymar
out too. He got called out from his teammate at PSG.
That was bad.
You can't do that, man.
That was bad.
But he's had a great World Cup.
Actually, in World Cup, I mean, again, to the experience factor, I mean, Mbappe didn't have a great game, but we're not going to rip on him. It's experience at the end of the day. And that's what it really comes down to.
Well, you mentioned Lukaku. I just can't stay away from him.
You love him.
Why not play Mertens in that role? He plays that role for Napoli, and he scores in bunches for Napoli, right?
And
you're not going to beat him, TT, on a header.
Yeah, you don't need that.
But there was no entry into the box with the ball aside from whipping in a cross because France crashed the box and they didn't allow any inside passes. They had no other choice but to put headers into the box. The ball into the box.
You just needed something different, and leaving him on the pitch doesn't provide that, you know. And I'm gonna go at Gareth Southgate for the same thing, but
We'll get into that after too.
yeah, but Martinez's substitutes didn't change the game, you know. Like you said, maybe Mertens when he came on, right?
when he came
That's
on,
the only
he
thing
did
that
change
made
the
the
game.
difference, right? So,
Yeah.
but the dynamic never changed because you still have that big waste of space at the top.
It was
But
the same system. You just had a different player trying
So
to
yeah,
get across.
but yeah, all credit
didn't
to
work
the
out.
France backline. Varane and Titi have made a perfect partnership. They literally can win the ball in the air, on the ground, and their line. They played a really nice line in the game, and it was beautiful to watch as a defender myself. I just think the stage got too big for Belgium. You know, this is their first semifinal, correct?
Second, I believe they made it in
Second? Okay.
1986. But that's so
But,
long ago.
yeah.
This is an entirely new team,
exactly.
different mentality.
So not a lot of players were alive even then. You know, they're a really young team. Maybe they were just young
Correct.
kids. But after beating Brazil, like their expectations must have changed, and it's such a huge accomplishment. They might have got just caught up in the moment, and they were probably one of the real contenders after they beat Brazil, right? So I think the stage just got too big for them, and once they realized they have a real shot at winning after beating Brazil, I think they kind of got too nervous about it, or they thought about it too much, and I think that really affected them.
Yeah, it definitely affected them mentally. One of the interesting stories that is approaching this World Cup final is that Didier Deschamps looks to become the third manager to win both as a player and a coach. Because remember, he was on the 98 France team that won with Zinedine Zidane. He looks to join Franz Beckenbauer, who has won the World Cup as a player and a coach. He also looks to join Mario Zagallo of Brazil, the one both as a player, a coach, and an assistant coach. So there's a lot of good things about this. And look, if Deschamps can do this, that puts him in elite company. He's faced a lot of criticism within the French press about his tactics, about his choices. I mean, if you look at the squad, there are a lot of guys that should have been on the team in our eyes that are not. For example, like Alexandre Lacazette or Kingsley Coman, for instance. Players like that. Benzema, another one. He's done an excellent job with his plans. And for me, it's as if France has to win this. You have no other choice. You cannot go in there and lose.
This is their best chance
You can't lose
they're
your
ever going to
second
get.
final in a row.
Yep.
You can't. And it'll look poor on the French nation. If they do, I believe he'll be fired. And one of the funny things is that France are playing so collectively that Antoine Griezmann has stepped back a little bit and said that he scored all the goals in the Euro 2016. Now this one he feels that, well, if I don't score that many goals, then we might actually win.
Well,
and if Griezmann scores one more, he equals Zinedine Zidane's tournament record for the French national team.
I feel they're playing more as a team in this tournament than they did in the Euro. Like you said, Griezmann scored a lot of the goals for them, but now you're seeing them a lot more balanced in the scoring, and also just them more playing as a team. Like I want to criticize Giroud a little bit in this match, but like I respect what he does and what he brings to the team. If they did have more of a top class striker, this game would have been over in the first half, I think, or at least killed it off in the added time or in the last 10, right? But so it's hard to say, because if you want to criticize Deschamps for not bringing Benzema or Lacazette,
Even
you could say-
Payet, that just came to mind.
right? But they all didn't have great seasons, you know.
That's
Lacazette didn't have a great season for Arsenal and all the troubles they had, and Benzema was criticized every game with Real Madrid. So you got to take what you get. You know, you got to roll with the players that have had good seasons and are coming off highs, right? So it's hard to say. But what do you think about the Fellaini substitute? Do you think he should have left it on?
I didn't like it at all. I thought that was the guy that was creating your chances at least. And you know, Fellaini may not be the most technically gifted player, but he does work hard. And there's no discrediting him for that. And he worked hard when he was at Everton. He did the best job that he could with Manchester United. Still does a good job with Man United at times. You need that guy out there.
Well, he does what he does, right? He plays his role, and in the last couple minutes when you need a goal, you proved it against Japan. He can find that.
Especially in the header, the way that Mertens was getting balls in the box, he needed somebody in there, and he could have been the game changer, which he was, especially like you said against Japan.
I feel Lukaku should have been taken off in probably the 60th, maybe even earlier for Batshuayi, and you're desperate. You need a goal, and you leave him on. And what does he do? Nothing. Look,
guys, 70 goals out of the 161 now in this World Cup. have come from set pieces.
Yeah, and
And
Fellaini's a
that's
set piece
including
master.
like free kicks, corners, because I added that number. It was 69 before the England and Croatia game, and there was the Kieran Trippier free kick, and that made it 70, which was honestly great technique, and we'll get into that after. Great free kick. But out of the 2 World Cups, for the most goals ever in a tournament, was actually the last one in 2014, and the France 98 one with 171 goals scored in both.
Yeah.
So as much as we talked about England and the Stars aligning, there are references as well to the 98 World Cup multiple times.
Well, it's been 20 years now since they won. So
and Belgium's 24-game unbeaten streak is
Over.
ended. It's over.
At the worst time.
Was this a disappointment for Belgium? Like a disappointing tournament?
I would say you'd probably have to think that they're disappointed that they didn't make it to the finals, right? Because this is their golden generation. I don't think many people expected them to not win, right? This is probably a lot of people's picks. So you gotta kind of think that it's a bit of a disappointment because
Can you even call it a golden generation if you don't win anything?
You still can.
If you don't,
yes, you can.
If you don't win a Euro, if you don't win a World Cup,
Yes,
it's their golden generation.
as
right?
long as it looks better now than it did on any other team in the past, regardless of whether you've won or not. I mean, if you look at Belgium's 1986 team in comparison to the one we have right now, this team is much more talented,
For sure.
more well-versed. So I think it is a disappointment in the sense, what you said, Nelson, you didn't make it to the final, right? I mean, they expected to make the final. They have the team to do it as well. But it's not a disappointment in the sense that Roberto Martinez came in, he provided a new vision, a new way of thinking, and a new way of doing things that actually made things better. If Wilmots was the manager still, I don't think Belgium would have gone very far. And he didn't have the right outlook for it. This guy does. It would be a disappointment if Belgium don't win the Euro. Or at least make the semifinals or the final of the Euro. You need to do well in the next Euro to at least solidify that this is your not only the best generation, but at least the generation that gave you a chance for a country that still is beneath the population of, I believe it's like 15 million people. I think they have 11 million people in the country, something like that.
well, you said it would be a disappointment that they didn't win, right? They didn't win the whole thing. But did you have them even beating Brazil?
In my bracket, no.
Just in general, like just
No.
your thinking, right? So
I didn't. Because in
can
the
that
first
be looked
episode,
at just getting past Brazil, like a huge football nation?
That is a success.
You know?
That's why it's not a disappointment. You at least beat one of the teams that was favored to win the
Yeah.
entire competition. Credit yourselves because you not only survived the onslaught that preceded the 2 goals, you also shut up the critics. You kept quiet other nations that criticized you and doubted you, including myself. I thought Belgium was just going to flop again. Honestly, I was not expecting them to go very far. Then they ended up proving
It's tough.
proving me wrong,
It's tough
which is
because-
perfect. That's good. That's what you want to see.
Because I didn't have them beating Brazil, so getting to the semifinals past Brazil's should be regarded as a huge success, like you said. But once you get past Brazil, you should be probably the favorites to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the fact they fall short and put in a really, really bad performance, I felt, against France, and have your top players, Lukaku, I say that in air quotations, but your top player in De Bruyne really get completely shut out of this game by N'Golo Kante and Paul Pogba.
But that's to
But
the
in
credit
goal-
of France.
Oh, 100%.
France were also favored to go very far in this tournament.
But then there
they
needs to be a
didn't lose
change.
to somebody that was not a favorite.
Yeah.
Right? They lost against France that have arguably the best depth out of any nation.
For sure, their substitutes could probably challenge, but I think France, they played a more simple formation, a more simple game. You know, Belgium really complicated things, sticking to that 3-5-2, even though you didn't really have the players to play that. You know, once you lost your 2 wing backs, so I think Martinez should be criticized a bit for sticking to the 3-5-2 or the whatever he played with the 3 at the back. You know, he should have went more simple, played a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3, something. You know,
Who was going to play left back then?
well, you can put
who do they
Vertonghen.
have?
You can put Vertonghen as play left back for them.
Vermaelen?
Vertonghen,
No, but also
Vermaelen,
can play
yeah.
left back as well.
but and then although Dembele had a really disastrous game for me, I feel like his best role is in a deeper midfield position, and he could have played there with Witzel, and I think it would have opened France up just a little bit more than they did in the game. But so I think, yes, it is a success they got past Brazil, but once you eventually beat Brazil, and there's no Germany, no Italy, no Spain, no Portugal, no Argentina in the Final Four, and you don't win, you got to look at it as a bit of a disappointment, I think.
Yeah. Now moving on to the other semifinal, England against Croatia. Was honestly a thrilling match. I didn't see all of it. I was working, so I tried to see snippets of the game as best as I could. 9 out of the 12 goals scored by England are from the set piece. England have been eliminated now in the past 4 semifinals. It was Italia 90 in the World Cup, Euro 96, and even going back to the 1968 Euro as well. In that game, Kieran Trippier, amazing free kick.
Beautiful.
Great goal.
I think Subasic was a little bit to blame though for that. No, you don't think
Looked
so?
like it was a little to the middle, right?
He was too far away from his other side of the goal. He wasn't positioned right.
Because Trippier didn't put like a great free kick, but he didn't put it right in the corner.
No,
it was
a little down the middle.
Yeah,
a little bit.
So
Subasic should have had
a little bit to blame. I don't want to put it all on him, but
no, you're absolutely right.
Maybe still feeling the effects of that hamstring, right?
Bro, I seriously don't know how his hamstring was not just torn. It was torn to
that
pieces.
doesn't make any sense to me either.
But maybe that's the reason why
Good
he
for
didn't
him.
jump to it, or probably didn't even expect that Trippier had that type of quality in him.
And I mean, England could have sealed the game, in my opinion, if Harry Kane scored.
Oh yeah, the one where he hit off the post.
Yeah.
If he put that in, the game was over.
The game was over.
That's,
It's very difficult to say, but England
he was flagged, eventually flagged offside for it. But I think if you go to VAR, I think that it's a good goal in my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't think he was offside.
I agree.
But you gotta finish that. You really gotta finish that,
especially Harry Kane, right?
With your reputation.
Yeah,
better than Wayne Rooney, according to some people that.
All
over the internet.
Is that at me?
No, not you. Like
I was talking to you off the record, and I still think so. In my opinion, I still do.
No, like even on Twitter, Facebook, I've read a bunch of people saying the same thing that you've been saying, right? That he's better than Wayne Rooney.
Well, what do you guys think? Is he? And I know this is only one competition, but
it's so hard to tell.
It's very difficult to tell
because they are different players.
Consistent for Tottenham. He's so consistent every year, scoring roughly 30 goals.
But they never win anything.
That doesn't matter.
But doesn't it? Wayne Rooney's won everything.
Well, look at Rooney's
except
team.
for World Cup.
Look at the team Rooney played on. Of course he was going to win
Carrick.
something. No, okay. No, don't even start with that. Ryan Giggs, Ronaldo, Luis Saha, Nemanja Vidic and Rio Ferdinand were arguably the best center-back pairing in the world at that time.
Except when Kaká.
Gary Neville, Patrice Evra, Van der Sar was in net. Who did Tottenham have at the time? Dimitar Berbatov that eventually went to Manchester United.
No, but
We're talking about right now.
We're talking about right now, yes, but look at their competition. Look who they have to play all the year. They got to go through Chelsea. They got to go through Man City, Man United. Now probably Arsenal, who's their bitter rival, that are getting better. Tottenham have a lot of work to do in the Premier League. It's so competitive. What Harry Kane does in a league that is so difficult to be consistent in, he does a good job. He scores roughly 30 goals. Then he comes into one World Cup and scores 6. And I know 3 were from the penalty spot. I know
2
what
were
you're about
headers,
to say.
and 1 was off his heel. So
don't forget 2 headers against Tunisia.
It still went in.
If he wins Golden Boot, which he probably will.
He will.
There's got to be like some kind of asterisk beside it because all 6 of his goals were probably the easiest goals he'll ever score.
Especially the one that hit off his heel. He didn't.
He knew nothing about it.
Yeah, he didn't even know it was coming.
Hey, but that's when you're a great striker. It just hits off you and then goes in.
That's when you know you're a great striker.
Right time. Right place at the right time. Mario Mandzukic, right place at the right time. Perisic hits the header. Mandzukic is in the right position.
No, but
it goes in.
Mandzukic still has to finish that.
A little bit of luck, right? For
Mandzukic still has to finish that. You know, it's still a great finish.
I mean, it was a great finish, but I'm sorry. What was Jordan Pickford doing diving to your short post?
I wouldn't blame
him either. I would blame the defense.
It's not about blaming the defense, though.
They reacted slowly.
John Stones was snoozing.
Very slowly.
John Stones was snoozing.
Pickford picked the side that he thought Mandzukic was going to, which is normally
even the 2014 World Cup final goal Mario Götze scored. What was Romero doing diving to the short post? You have to anticipate it's going to the far post. That's the easiest.
It's harder to go with far post than short post.
I don't know about that. One of the things growing up as a goalie that I've heard from people who like coach others how to be a goalie.
Coach others, a goalie coach.
Yes, goalie coach. Why you gotta ruin me?
Someone that teaches others how to play.
I stuttered
goalie.
over my words. Excuse me. Oh my god. That's disrespectful.
But yeah, no.
But yeah, they teach you don't be beaten on the short post.
Well, that's why they dove short post, right? But
I guess so. Yeah.
Like
John Stones took a nap. Kyle Walker took a nap on the first one. So
short lapses like that cause you to get eliminated.
Yeah,
right?
and Pickford again had a great game. I feel like he saved them a couple times. So
he did have a great game.
He's really shown in this tournament that he is a top, like a rising goalkeeper. I don't want to say top goalkeeper yet, but he's a rising star. You know,
if he keeps up this play, for sure, he's gonna have big teams coming after him.
Yeah, so I don't want to put any blame on him. In all fairness, I think Croatia deserved to go through to the final over England. After the first 20 minutes, after the initial threat from England where they should have put the game away, they had the Harry Kane chance that we just talked about, but also Jesse Lingard, who was set up by Dali Ali, I think, right at the top of the 18, and he just really looked so nervous when he got the ball. Like he didn't want anything to do with it, and he curled it wide. But after the first 20 minutes, it was all Croatia, I felt. And they were the much better team, and they really deserved to go through.
So what about Gareth Southgate then? We spoke about before.
For me,
tactical moves that weren't favored by us.
His substitutes had no impact, and they didn't change the system. We saw Croatia and their coach after the first 20 minutes, and even after the first half, they made tactical changes, and they really were able to utilize their width with their wing backs and saw them get forward. And it was really up to Lingard and Dele Alli to push back and try to mark them, and they just couldn't. They pushed Kieran Trippier and Ashley Young back all the way, and they really offered nothing going forward after that. So Gareth Southgate, he made all like for like substitutes. He took off Sterling for Rashford. He took off Ashley Young for Danny Rose, same player. Eric Dyer for Henderson. So what did you change? You just changed the players. You didn't change the system. You saw that you were getting held back, pushed back, and all England did, they resorted back to their old ways, which was knocking long balls. And Vida and Lovren are going to eat that up all day. So they didn't offer anything for me in the second half. They really didn't create much.
No, and I think that Southgate continues to make the same substitution. We've seen Sterling come off for Rashford time and time again. There was no change of dynamic. I would have brought on Ruben Loftus-Cheek. If
you have Loftus-Cheek in your team.
He's a big presence. He's good on the ball. He would be able to physically brush off Brozovic, Rakitic, Modric, anyone that would have came around. Physically, of course. I'm not saying
he has Henderson in the squad as a defensive midfielder, and then you have Ali and Lingard who do the exact same thing. You know, they both want to get forward, they both want to get in the box, and they both want to score. But you need other players. You have Fabian Delph, and you have, like you said, Loftus-Cheek, who can create. You know what I mean? When you have to defend against players like Brozovic, who is a good defensive midfielder, you have Rakitic and Modric, who are both very creative, and you saw them just picking England apart like it was nothing. All England could do, they would pass the ball to Trippier, he would pass it back to Maguire, and Maguire would knock it forward. Or he'd pass it back to Pickford, which we saw a lot, and Pickford would knock it long.
Yeah, a lot of the kick and run football.
Simi
for
Salco.
They back to, right?
Yeah,
they
said
get away from that.
Southgate said they
openly criticized about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I
was going to say,
you know what? To the statistics show, England had 103 long balls in that game against Croatia, who had 85. Yeah. And that's exactly what they resorted to.
Southgate said, this is a New England side. They're not going to resort back to their old ways. And Versalco said himself, when we put a little bit of pressure on them, because in the first half, Trippier and Young were getting forward, and we saw Trippier put in some beautiful crosses. He played another amazing game.
He had a spectacular tournament.
The whole tournament was,
and even in the
100%.
The third place game that's going to come up, I assume he's going to be a starter.
Yeah, so we saw that a lot in the first half, and then once Versalco and Strinic, and we saw Modric and Rakitic push forward to help Mandzukic, and then the wide players, they couldn't mark Perisic and Rebic. Because Lingard and Dele Alli would have to push back, and then they offered nothing going forward. They were too tired to get forward again.
Just like we spoke about last week about England having a lack of communication, it showed again. They didn't communicate properly. And we've seen that from Lingard and Dele Alli. And what they do up front, they can't seem to get it together within the chemistry sometimes. I mean, I say Kieran Trippier would like to start on Saturday for the consolation game. Hopefully he's healthy enough. I mean, he did sustain that injury and he had to go off, which forced England to play with 10 men for the last latter half
5 minutes or whatever.
the latter half of the second half of extra time. It stinks. It really sucks. But, I mean, again, credit Croatia to what they do. And Dejan Lovren said that he should be regarded as one of the best central defenders in the world. Now, are we agreeing with this? Or I'm taking that laugh as a complete
We know what Devon feels.
No.
Well, you know what team he plays for, and you know who I support. So.
All right.
Just there. But taking my bias away, obviously, there's no way he should be regarded.
No.
I think he knows that too. But I hope that was
Him just making
him having fun,
Or I think he's just boosting his confidence. Do I think he's improved 100%? He has.
Well, I mean,
We used to look at
it's
Dejan
hard to get worse
Lovren.
from what he was. So
Yeah, we used to look at Dejan Lovren watching Liverpool and say, oh, there goes another ball into the back of the net. And, who's there? Dejan Lovren
But
again. And
Liverpool
everyone's
still
disappointed.
need to sign another center back. They can't. I don't want to say they can't win nothing because if Croatia win the World Cup, but they got so exposed against Madrid in the Champions League final.
Is that backline?
You saw that coming, though.
Well, of course, because you have
Everyone
Dejan
did.
Lovren.
It's not only Lovren, even his partner. What's his name now? Van Dijk. There we go. Virgil van Dijk back there. What did he do in that Champions League final? Not very much.
Well, that's a whole different story. That was the whole team.
Yeah.
The loss of Salah
Defensively,
too
they were
and everything.
never a good
But
team, and the loss of Salah really damaged
For
them.
me, I just think the inexperience and the lack of experience for the English side kind of showed up at the end. And it is a young squad, and everybody knew that coming in. And I think there's, like I said in the beginning, I think this World Cup was preparation for the Euro and the World Cup coming in 4 years. And you know what? You have to give England some credit because nobody expected them to go this far, and they did what they did, and they kind of united the country, right?
Yeah, even with the rift in the country right
Yeah.
now with Brexit, with the relationship with the
Yeah.
European Union, Theresa May's cabinet is falling apart. You have to credit Gareth Southgate for what he's done. He's unified the nation. He has given the nation hope for tournaments to come because of his mentality and his relationship with players. And once England beat Colombia on penalties, I remember he went over to Uribe, who missed the penalty, and he consolidated him. And that shows us how much of a coach-to-player relationship that he shows. If I even said that right. if I'm speaking English here.
It's okay. It's hard.
It's tough language.
One of the most
It's hardest
difficult
one in
they've
the
said,
world.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so
I-
see,
it's okay,
if we
bud.
struggle a little bit, I mean, we try. We give it a shot. But he's done a great job for the nation.
Yeah,
He
no,
really
there's
has.
no denying he's a good manager, but I think he still has a lot of learning and growing to do as a manager, and there's a difference between a good manager and a great manager, and I think he really showed his inexperience and why he's just a good manager, because he did take this England team who didn't have many expectations to a semi-final, but once they got really close to the final and played an opponent maybe at their level for once, he really showed that he needs to be more aware of what's going on, and also his staff as well, the assistant coaches. It's hard sometimes as a coach to you get caught up in the moment, you get caught up in everything. Sometimes you can't pay attention to everything that's going on, so that's why you need your assistants to kind of come in your ear and be like, okay, we need to change the system. There needs to be something different. We need to offer something different because what we're doing is not working.
He needed an extra voice, definitely.
Yeah.
And his assistant coaches did not provide that for him in the crucial moments of matches, in crucial decision making.
Yeah.
in
So
which he
there's
needed
a
to
lot
do.
of blame to go around, but I think this match was again more about Croatia. They played 120 minutes more than England have in this tournament, and they looked like the fitter team. So it speaks volumes of their character and their hunger to win. In all three knockout round games, they've been behind and they've come back and won. So it doesn't matter. This team never believes they're out of a game.
They're so resilient, and credit them, because I thought playing so much would have been their downfall, fitness-wise, and it really hasn't. I mean, this is Rakitic's 71st game of the season, more than anyone else this year, and Luka Modric has traveled 39.1 miles in this World Cup. That's more than anybody.
But it's like Nelson said, this Croatia team, the Croatia team has big game experience.
Yeah.
Modric with Real Madrid, 3 straight Champions League, and Rakitic with Barcelona.
Yep.
They're always in big games. So
Mandzukic has always been in big
yeah,
games for
so
Juve.
that's a big difference compared to where this England team is. You never really see, Henderson was in the Champions League final, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And Rakitic the night before, he had a fever.
Did he?
Did you guys hear about that?
No.
I probably read like 10 minutes before we came here. He had a fever and he lost 4 pounds that night. And then he still played, and I think he was the one who ran the most that game too.
It's honestly insane.
You could tell
That's
how
crazy.
much that they wanted it, right?
Yeah, no,
that
the whole team.
comes out.
That's the storyline of Croatia. Just even with
Their
that,
will to
adding
win,
it. The
you know?
will to win and the will to endure whatever comes your way is above any other team in the world right now for a country that only has 4 million people. And you guys probably heard the Luka Modric story as well that went around. That when he was born in the Croatian War, and his family had to leave his town that he grew up in because of bombings and Serbian rebels that came in. Once his family left the town, they were refugees and had to go hotel to hotel to hotel. And Modric was still pursuing a professional career that his parents threw everything on the line for him to get there. He went to Dinamo Zagreb. They didn't like him at the beginning. They thought that he wasn't good enough. So then he had to go over to Bosnia, and he played in Bosnia for a little while, really showed some promise of the player that he could be, went over to Dinamo Zagreb, showed everything that he had within his wardrobe of talent. He gave it his all. He earned starting positions. He really grew the club, transferred over to Tottenham, and then transferred back over to Real Madrid, and the rest is history. He's probably the best midfielder in the world right now. And it's really hard to go against that because of what he does, not only for his club, but for his nation. The run of play in Real Madrid runs through Modric in central midfield.
Him and Kroos.
Runs through what he does. Kroos is so good as well. He's very close to him. The run of play here runs through Modric and runs through Rakitic. We saw Spain do this with Iniesta and Xavi. So I want to ask you guys, who do you think is the better pairing?
Who? What do you think?
Well, you have to go with the Spanish
Yeah.
pair. I think right now they've won everything there is to win, and that's complete. There's taking nothing away from Rakitic and Modric, because I think we'll get into this maybe next episode after the final. But I think Modric might be player of the tournament. But it's hard to bet against or talk bad against Xavi and Iniesta because
of course.
they've literally won everything except for Ballon d'Or.
Back-to-back international titles as well, right?
It's insane.
So
think about how impossible that is to win Euro,
at
World
the
Cup,
time,
Euro.
Their team was formidable, and the way that
But
they
a lot of
played
it was because of them.
revolutionized the game.
Yeah,
The
a lot
game
of it
would
was
always
because
go
of
through
them.
them.
Yeah, they didn't have a world class. You could say maybe Torres or Villa was world. I don't know if they're world class. They're top strikers at the time they were, but world class, I don't know. And then David Silva was still coming into his own, but it was really Xavi and Iniesta, and then you could say Busquets as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, a voice crack there. I'm still going through puberty. But it was really them who.
Still this long?
Buddy, I don't know when it's gonna end.
doctor.
I don't know when it's gonna end. I need to see a doctor.
Oh no.
Give me a recommendation, somebody.
Yeah, I gotta recommend you to my doctor, Dr. Zazowski, at Woodbridge.
But yeah, I would take Iniesta and Xavi.
Yeah.
You as
No.
well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said I completely agree with you. Just you can't go against that back-to-back international titles, all the
Yeah.
Champions Leagues, all the league titles they've won, and what they did with Barca, and you can kind of tell, Barca hasn't been the same without Xavi. And
Speaking
at
of a
all.
complete opposite player, though, just to move on from it a little bit, did you want to bring up Sterling? 'Cause I thought he was.
You want me to go on a Sterling rant?
If you want, I mean, I feel like he didn't.
Because he was the
lackluster
worst
again.
player for England, and it shows that Raheem Sterling is not the player everyone thinks he is. He plays on Manchester City, a team with incredible names, a team with star-studded talent, and he succeeded. Why? Because he has that star-studded talent beside him.
Under Pep.
Under Pep. He comes here for an England team, and he shows nothing of that.
Well, a lot of his goals are tap-ins for City.
They're tap-ins for City, and he gets set up by everybody, and he comes here to England, and what does he do? Nothing. And I thought that maybe there would be a change out of Raheem Sterling, and it's the same story again. He can't do anything without talent beside him. And you want to talk about Lukaku not doing anything with talent beside him? Raheem Sterling is pretty much the same story.
Wasn't he kind of playing a little bit outside of his position?
That's the
though?
other thing I wanted to mention was
that's what
too,
I'm thinking.
and
Like,
that goes down to Gareth Southgate again. You realize that the front two aren't linking up well this
Yeah.
whole tournament,
Make it switch.
and you don't make a change the entire tournament or in the game. You know, you put Rashford in, but in the same position. You know, because Rashford is more of a striker than Sterling, or center forward at least. Anyway, so I think like their formation was off for me. You know, just like I said about Belgium, their formation didn't work with the players they had. Like if you want to play with two strikers, then put in Vardy, start Rashford or Welbeck. You know, but don't put Sterling in to win a header or
Should've
just to
played
play
a
off
4-3-3.
Harry Kane. You know,
But both Belgium and England played 3 in the back and
Yeah.
made it this far.
Yeah.
I think it's sometimes it's a really complicated formation. And you know, people want to emulate the Italy team or Juventus in a way, but that takes time. You know, and
You gotta have the right players for that.
For Juventus, you know, you have all season to prepare. You know, you can maybe afford to drop points every now and then because you're still learning the system. And they had the best players in the position to do that when you had 3 great center backs, great wing backs for the past almost decade now, and top midfielders from Vidal to Pjanic, you know, so it doesn't matter to them. And then you've had strikers come and go, and you know, it's worked for them. But to go into a major tournament having rarely played this and not having a lot of time to prepare and really teach your players the system because they don't really play at club level, so it's difficult. And with the Italy team, most of it is Juventus players. Unfortunately for me, it's hard to say that. I'll give you that, Rob.
Well, my next stat that I was about to say is going to hurt both of us.
I'm bet. But so, you know, when going from club to international, you want a smooth transition.
Yes. No, I agree.
So going from Juve to the Italian national team is a smooth transition because you're playing the same system.
Everyone plays there.
And it's the same players almost.
But the thing
I-
is, in England's defense, sorry to cut you off.
No, go.
For England's defense, 5 of them play for Tottenham, and 1 of them is an ex-Tottenham player.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the chemistry was still there, maybe just in the wrong positions, like
Yeah.
you said. Throwing the guys in weird, like Kyle Walker's playing right
Center back. He did well though.
He did
except
really
for that,
well in right
that
center back.
snooze that he took.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say was it's different because Juve gets the players to fit their system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in England, they were trying to make the players
Force it
a
Yeah.
little bit, right?
Yeah.
And I can't really blame Sterling because he wasn't playing in his position, and it's kind of hard when you had maybe 2-3 weeks before the tournament to get accustomed to a system that he's not used to playing with Pep in City. But you know, they made it to the semis, and you got to give them credit for what they did. And I know people are gonna bash them. Again, it comes to the clubs in England, right? If people don't like Man City, they're gonna bash him because he played horrible. And if you're from City, you're probably gonna be a little bit empathetic because you know he doesn't play that regularly.
Yeah, I mean Sterling, he's a professional guy. You know how to play striker. If you play wing, you know how to play striker. It goes hand in hand.
Not necessarily.
And in my opinion, a little bit because you're still attacking.
But it's
You're
different.
still and you're setting up Harry Kane there. I'm not going to completely ruin him that his career's over or anything, or he's a completely bad player. No, but in the moments that you could have made a bit of a difference, at least try a little bit harder. It didn't seem like the work ethic was there from him.
I think when he plays winger, he has more of an opportunity to cut into the space from the defenders' backs when they're not expecting, you know, when they're probably trying to watch the striker, and then he comes unseen, right? And
Yeah,
then
for City he does.
Yeah.
Like he
runs
likes
a
to
lot,
run
yeah.
behind
Yeah.
the back line there, and De Bruyne or
Yeah.
David Silva is able to pick the pass for him, right? Or give it to Sane or give it to Aguero, Jesus, and then they can give it to Sterling for a tap in, you know. So it's a different system he plays at City. But same thing I asked for Belgium, I'm gonna ask for England: is this a success or is it a disappointment?
For England, definitely a success. I mean, the expectation for a lot of English fans could not have been
Worse.
at the beginning of the tournament, before it started, could not have been, this World Cup's coming home. Could not have been, especially with the team. You definitely, as English fans, if all 3 of us were English fans, we would have thought at the quarterfinals beating Sweden, yeah, maybe this World Cup is coming home because you're getting all excited. You haven't been to a semifinal for a long time. So they have every right to be excited and say the World Cup was coming home. Absolutely. But at the beginning, you could not have expected it. Success for me, though, of everything that they've done in the system that Gareth Southgate has placed in, and fueling the motivation for these players to do well in major tournaments. Success for me, 100%.
I'm gonna agree with you, Rob. And the only reason why I'm gonna say this because they, nobody, like I've said before, this was an inexperienced team who's prepping for the next Euro and World Cup, and the slogan "It's coming home" was started as a joke, from what I took on social media.
What you heard from the timeline, eh?
Yeah, from the timeline that people were just starting it as a joke, and as the reality started to kick in, and they started to going far, like people actually started taking it more serious.
Yeah.
And nobody probably I'm assuming people expect them to at least leave the group, but not to beat Colombia. Like I certainly didn't have them coming out. And I think you got to be happy with what these kids did, and then they brought, like I said before, England together, and I guess you got to look to the future now, because if they could keep it up and improve in the areas that what we think were the downfall, that they can cause some damage in the next few international tournaments.
I'm gonna go with the opposite a bit. Making the semis in any tournament for England, when you haven't done it for a very long time, is a success in itself. But the only thing that really worked for England to me was set pieces all tournament. They didn't really score a lot from open play. And it's great to be good at set pieces. Sometimes that can win you a tournament. But if that's all you offer, then I don't know. Other than that, what did they really offer? Because,
a
they
penalty
scored,
shootout win.
Yeah. But
I give him the credit. They finally won a penalty shootout.
For any other team, that's not a huge thing. And if you want to look at it from their standards, okay, congratulations. You finally won a shootout. You finally made it back to the semifinals. But I don't think they overachieved because of their route to the semifinals they had. They had it very easy. They beat who they should have beat. And at the time, they play against a team at their level. The only time they play against a team at their level, which was Croatia, they struggled. They really struggled. And we saw it clearly from all the way from their coach to their players, other than maybe Pickford, and that's about it for me. Walker fell asleep, Stones fell asleep, and Maguire. There are some very bright points to this tournament for them. Maguire played very well. Harry Kane got his goals. Pickford is looking like a star. Trippier's looking like a rising star as well. So there are some positives, but I don't think they overachieved.
Now, before we move on to our predictions of the final, Devin, this is going to hurt you and I, considering you cheer for AC Milan and I cheer for Juventus.
What are you doing to me?
Interesting stat, there's been an Inter player in the World Cup since 1982.
Oh, boy.
Okay? Giuseppe Bergomi in 1982, Karl-Heinz Rummenigge 86, Jurgen Klinsmann 90, Berti 94, Ronaldo 98, Ronaldo 02.
Who's that?
Who?
Ronaldo. I never heard of him.
No, I never heard of him?
No.
Oh, he was only the most formidable striker at the time in the world. Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
He's the guy that I got my first cleats from. It was his Brazilian Ronaldo.
Good for you.
Materazzi in 06, Schneider in 2010, Palacio in 2014, Perisic and Brozovic in this one.
So what I'm hearing is Portugal needs to send players to Inter Milan to win a World Cup.
Well, they tried that and it didn't work because João Mario's not doing all that great.
Milan had a player on the Croatian side. He's just not there anymore.
How much is Nikola Kalinic regretting not going on?
Is he gonna get, if they do win, or even if they don't, is he still gonna get a medal in all this?
No,
probably. He's probably registered in the 23-man roster.
Even if he gets sent home.
Actually, you know what?
If he's registered in the list, then he's definitely.
But he's not on the list anymore.
Can the list change? That's the question.
Yeah, you cannot
Can you alter your list?
At least I know before the tournament, but.
Before the tournament, you can, because you have up to a certain date to if anybody gets hurt or whatnot.
But still,
I think as soon as the tournament starts and that's your list, that's who it is.
I just want to advise everybody: do not be like Nikola Kalinic. Go on as a last-minute sub. Do your team a favor. Even if your back's hurting you,
just lay on the floor for the minute.
Just do what you're there to do.
Just play the game. That's all you have to do.
Really sad.
All right, predictions. Who do you got?
So we'll start with the third place match.
Yeah, let's do the
grand finale for
match.
last.
Let's do that one.
Third place match is always tough to call from in general, because you never know which nation's really gonna care, about the match after being heartbroken in the semis. I am gonna go with Belgium, even though It might surprise you guys because I have zero
Oh, what a
faith.
shocker.
Because I have zero
Such a
faith.
shocker.
Zero faith in Lukaku. So I hope he doesn't play and they win, and that can show everybody. But I think both teams will want to put in a good performance and feel like they deserve at least third place. We'll get a match that we thought we were going to get at the end of the group stage. Instead, we got both of their B teams. Mounier even told the press beating England is now the minimum requirement for them. So I think with that mentality, it means they're really going to go for it. A win would give Belgium their best finish ever at a World Cup. They previously got fourth. I forget what year it was, but they lost the third place match before. So I think they're going to want to finish third.
I'm taking Belgium too. I just think that for the disappointment that they just went through with losing to France, that this is the best alternative that they can get. And I just see them coming out differently than the way that they came out against France, and they're, they want the third place medal. You'd rather finish third than fourth.
Yeah.
And I just think England's probably going to be a little bit too heartbroken to probably even focus or care about this match. But I got Belgium taking it.
I think that it's always better to finish third than it is to finish second. So I'm taking Belgium with
Finish
this one
second?
as well.
Ooh.
Well, you're winning the game when you finish third. You're losing when you finish second.
But
So
at
really,
least
what's
you
the
went
better
to the
prize?
final,
At least
right?
you're at
You
the
can
dance.
say you at least went to the final, but you'll always remember it for losing the final.
Yeah, but at least you tried, right?
At least you tried, but
if
it's
you're playing the third
you walk
place
away
game,
with a
you lost
medal.
in the semi.
It's
and
like
you
going
feel sad.
out. You go talk to the girl, you don't get the number. You
Yeah.
you took the L, or you get third place, which
you just
is
look at her from afar.
exactly. You're still
That
winning
is
because
not
you're not
even the
hurting your
same
feelings.
reference.
You're
My
hurting your
instruction
feelings.
means
You
So-
feel like a winner, but you're really a loser.
Exactly right. You're drinking with your boys. You feel good. So you're still a winner in your books.
Nah,
but at
but-
least the guy that went up to the girl and asked her out or asked,
At least he tried.
asked for a number. At least he tried.
The third place, he just waving from afar.
That creepy stare from the corner, sipping
Oh,
on
God.
your Henny.
Oh God. But yeah, okay. I see where you guys are. For the final now, I'm going with France. Croatia have not beaten them in 5 matches entirely within their history. Going up against France, 1998 in their first ever matchup, Croatia lost 2-1 in the semis. We know who went on to win that tournament. France. France went on to win in 1999. France won 3-0. In 2000, France won 2-0. The only times that Croatia have ever put up a fight is Euro 2004, where they end up taking the lead and then lost it. They drew 2-2 in the group stage. Both sides drew in 2011, 0-0, and that's when France were really at the low point of their international career. After the 2006 World Cup, everything went downhill for a little while. They finally revitalized that. I'm taking France. I would think the score is probably 2-1. I'll take it in regulation. In 90 minutes, they'll actually win the game. So I'm going to go with the French for this one. They get their second star. As much as I want Croatia to win, possibly, you want to see that for the story and being the smallest nation to win, France are going to win.
I'm taking Croatia. Shocker, no? And I'll
Wow,
tell
you
you
went
why.
devil's advocate against me.
No, two reasons. The first, this knockout stage has seemed very, very similar to a team that won 2 years ago. And no one's giving them any spiel like they did to Portugal. When Portugal went, no, this isn't soccer, this isn't footy, this isn't that. But hey, it doesn't matter how you get there and how you win as long as you do it. And Croatia's doing almost, little differences. Their team's better, midfield stacked. But I just think that, when they win, I can be like, so where's all the critics that there were, 2 years ago? Second thing, why I think they're going to win is because I always said from the start, like I mentioned and Devon knows, that I feel like this World Cup will be a new winner. And I think Croatia has a team to do it. I know they played a lot of games, a lot more minutes than anybody else, but I think that also gives you a little bit of more of a motivation because people think that you don't have the energy to come off and play big. And I'm not sure if France is going to have the mindset like they did 2 years ago where like, this game's won, and then what happens is they end up losing it. I just think Croatia's got the team. They've had an historic run, and I just want to see them finish it off, and I want to see Modric lift it because I don't want to see the French win it again. So I'm taking Croatia.
Who do you think I'm going to go with?
Ooh,
Who do you
I
think?
don't know.
I think you're taking France.
No, I think
going
he's
with-
taking Croatia because he wants to live when he goes through his area.
Miss Saga has a big Croatian.
Yeah.
Streetsville. Shout out Streetsville.
They were
big
having
Croatian.
a big.
My dentist
big-
is Croatian.
They're having a
So
big.
I need my teeth clean.
Yeah.
I need to go be able to get my teeth clean. First of all, I think it's going to be an incredible finals. I'm so excited to watch this match and see the midfield battle between Conte, Pogba versus Rakitic and Modric. I think it's going to be spectacular. And I think whoever wins that battle is going to win this game. France are huge favorites for this game and very well should be with all the talent they have on their team and how they've been outstanding this whole tournament. Or not the whole tournament, but this knockout stages. Compared to Croatia, who have scraped by 3 opponents in extra time and penalties. Another voice crack. I'm sorry. France have also knocked out 3 strong teams in Argentina, Uruguay, and Belgium, while Croatia had a much easier road going through Denmark, England, and Russia. Also, Croatia has also basically played an entire extra game more than France, if you calculate the 3 games that went into extra time. So, with all that being said, I'm picking Croatia. To me, this is destiny for them. You know, like you said, I think it's destined to be a new team to win. And how it's gone every 20 years, a new team has won. So it's been 20 years since France won their first, and it's time for Croatia. I can't pick against what's written in the stars for them. Yes, they've been exhausted. Yes, they must be exhausted for having played all this extra football. And France should win on Sunday, given their talent and the tired legs of Croatia. But somehow this team always finds a way to beat the odds and find an extra gear. The midfield duo has been flawless. Their wide players, Perisic and Rebic, have become stars. And Mandzukic played his role to perfection. This team has been down in all 3 knockout games and managed to crawl back and win. That's not normal. Like, that shouldn't happen. But this is Croatia's first time in a World Cup final. And the last 2 first-time finalists have both won the tournament. Croatia, they're going to be World Cup champions, man.
Let's go.
That's crazy.
I mean, I want it to happen, but I still think the French. But we'll see.
That's
I mean,
crazy.
anything can happen.
Croatia
at
gonna
the end
win
of
the World
day.
Cup.
Anything can happen.
Who? I hope they do.
Croatia going to win the World Cup. Shout out my dentist, man. Give me a free cleaning
Shout
after
out your
this.
dentist. My dentist is Polish and he was not happy with this tournament. Very, very unhappy. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of 12 Yards Out. Once again, I'm Robert Belardi with Devon Imrie and Nelson Santo. Our technical producer is Matthew Stevens. We obviously thank you to tune into our show. Please follow the Instagram account 12 Yards Out and enjoy the consolation match and the World Cup final. We'll see you next week.